Are you tired of the mainstream media lying to you every single day? You are not alone. Millions of other Americans are sick of the corporate media fake news of the MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, New York Times, other Times, Washington Post, Political. Every single one of them are in the bag for the Democrats. They are all Team DNC. But now you have another option in independent creators like here on the CASHLOREN show. Well, we will go and we will expose the deep state, these unelected bureaucrats, and the mainstream media, along with the Democrats and their friends in the Rhino Uniparty, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Get the facts on the CASHLOREN show. I am your host, America's Truth Teller, shining a bright red light on the corruption and the hoaxes from the mainstream media and the Democrat Party. You're not going to want to miss a single moment. Join the American First Movement Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. This is the CASHLOREN show.
In 2025, we find ourselves in a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all three of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service, it's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
There we go. So you get off the screen up. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back as we get through this little bit of a break, and we're back on the air now. We have had a lot happen over this past week, and especially over this weekend, as ICE has decided to do everything that Donald Trump has promised, and they are now going in to these deep blue Democrat cities and states, and they're conducting raids just as Donald Trump promised as he ran. I mean, this was never a secret. Not for a single moment did he ever hide this from anybody, that part of why he was elected was to deport every single illegal immigrant in this country. And that's exactly what Trump is doing. Promises made and promises kept. As he continues to move forward, and now he's going to places like California, like New York, and like Chicago, and he's not holding back. And just before we get into this story, also, I want to probably let you know that we're watching a story now is that Donald Trump, right before we went live, has told everybody to get out of Iran, and people are fleeing right now under Donald Trump's warning to Iran. And so we are keeping an eye on this the best I can as I'm all here by myself. And if anything breaks, I'll do my best to bring it to you as the story breaks. But at the current moment is Donald Trump left early. He is now going back to DC, and then he's having an emergency, I think, with his security council, and he told everybody to evacuate immediately. And the roads are just full of people. I wish I had more clips stuff to show you, but it broke right as we were going live. And that's part of why we're a little late. So I'll do my best to keep an eye on it as the show goes on. And then if anything happens, do everything we can to share it with you, to know you as much as anyone else wants to know what's happening in the Middle East, as we are very close to what could be another major war. But here back at home, we have ICE, who is going back into these deep blue states, in these deep blue cities, and they are doing everything Trump promised, deporting every single illegal immigrant. But welcome back, folks. I am your host, CASHLOREN, standing between 6'4" and 6'6", depending on which convenience store I am leaving. And for the Democrats, they look at violence as it is warranted. They think not only is it warranted, but violence must be carried out to push liberalism or to push their activism. And when you see the fake news networks and the Democrats, and they lie over and over and over again about how they want to have these peaceful protests, yet thanks now to the X and others, we can now show what was actually happening over the course of this weekend. As Democrats, we got increasingly violent and started fighting police. And then all of a sudden, the people on the left, they're just looking the other way, right? Nothing to see. You have somebody on January 6th, and they want to throw them in prison for the rest of their lives because that fit the narrative. It's some right right-wing extremists. But when it goes onto their side of the fence, all of a sudden, it was just peaceful protests. It was fiery, but mostly peaceful. You remember back in 2020 when CNN had the nerves to say that, and there's literally a fire burning in the background. And this is no different than it was not too long ago on the fake news when they're just saying that they just want to watch a car burn. But these are just peaceful protesters, and there's literally a fire burning in a car. And the reporter's like, well, they just want to have fun. They just want to relax. They just want to watch cars burn. I mean, what's wrong with destroying a little bit of property when you're on the Democrat side? That's exactly how they see political violence. When the Democrats, and they lie to you about being anti-political violence, this is what they're talking about. Then they expect you, the federal government, or your tax dollars to come back and pay when they allowed their cities to get destroyed. And here is LA saying that they demand that you, the federal government, meaning your tax dollars, pay for the destruction that they caused over on LA and elsewhere.
Demanding full accountability and reimbursement for the local costs incurred, including injuries to local officers and damages caused by the chaos unleashed when the Trump administration recklessly deployed the military and ICE agents into our communities. They are the ones who created this unrest, and they are the ones that need to foot the bill.
Because the Democrats refuse to enforce their laws. You listen to this liberal logic, this is how sane they are. They usually say that we don't enforce laws, meaning that there are sanctuary cities for all these illegal immigrants and criminals. And to show some of the things that they went through, they found riots, over 1,000 protesters. Trump had to send in over 2,000 National Guard. I'm trying to find my notes here for exactly who they arrested. I'm not seeing them on my screen here, but they went in there to felons, right? Assaults, murders, rapes. That's who they went in after. Just like Donald Trump has said right from the get-go, as they plan to deport every single illegal immigrant, it doesn't stop there, but it starts there. If they happen to go after these felons, these criminals, and there happens to be more illegal immigrants there, then they will deport them too. It's like all of you voted for right from the very start. I just spotted it. So they did over 5 gang members, and they had hundreds of illegal immigrants, including felons, murderers, and wanted for felony assaults. This is who they went after LA for, and this is who LA and the California was trying to protect. They're sanctuary cities, and nobody is illegal. And so then to make sure that their meaning that their narrative isn't interrupted with facts, they just refuse to arrest people. Or somehow somebody actually does get arrested, then they think it's equitable and fair to then just to dismiss the court case or release them from court. And the ICE goes in and arrests them, and all of a sudden the Democrats start crying foul when this is our laws. But the Democrats, they've gotten way too comfortable with they get to think that they get to decide which laws they do and they do not enforce. And if you are sick of the Democrats' two-tier justice system and you voted for Trump to enforce our laws fairly and equally, then hit that repost button and help us spread an American first message. Of course, Newsom called this deranged and insane, meaning enforcing the laws. As they look at it, the Democrats, they choose which laws they do enforce and which ones they don't. And it's always down, there's somehow their false morality. Because they think they are better than you. And they think they are smarter than you. They think they are better, they are wiser. They have Ivy League degrees. If you don't agree with them, see, it's not their fault for being wrong. It's your fault for not being smart enough and not just listening to your liberal elite and doing what they say. I mean, they shouldn't even have to have elections. They're so much smarter and better than you. You should just give them their power. Let them stay in office and rule over you. I mean, these issues, these are way too important for elections. This is about DEI. This is about social justice. This is about making things equitable and fair. And you can't have elections getting in the way of pushing liberalism and activism for the Democrats' party. So they brought in tens of millions of illegal immigrants over the last 4 years. And this isn't, see, the thing about their equity is that this isn't what it's about at all. It's not about right, and it's never about immorality. That is always fake virtually signaling from the Democrats on the left. What it's always for them is that they see this as a new permanent voting bloc for the Democrats. These illegal immigrants will either vote now for them, as they will either find a way to make them citizens, or they will do it with their children by abusing the birth rate and then doing those children to now becoming citizens and then voting permanently for Democrats as they expand on this deep blue and this welfare state that's trying to make many, many people as possible go and be dependent on the federal government. As Karen Bass, as she is the LA mayor, she goes on, she calls this an abuse of power. Because, apparently having our laws being enforced is abuse of power. But listen to how she tries to twist words to push this Democrat narrative for help the fake news and the Democrats lie to you, the American voters.
The raids hadn't happened, then that protest would have been a No Kings protest. We know that that was planned months in advance. But the disruption and the fear that has been caused by the raids has really had a devastating effect and has been a body blow to our economy. I don't think the president understands that we have entire sectors of our economy that cannot function without immigrant labor.
The Democrats need their illegal immigrants. They have to have them or the economy doesn't function. Right? I mean, who's going to pick the cotton for the Democrats? That's essentially what she's saying here. Right? They need cheap illegal labor. Does that remind you of somebody? They started a civil war over this. It's exactly who they are. The Democrats are felons. The Democrats are criminals. And the Democrats and their criminal friends stick together. That's what illegal immigration is all about, bringing in brand new voters for the Democrat Party, either now or later. Make them legal now or their children legal 20 years from now. It's never been about equity, and it's never been right. And you see how the Democrats, they think they get to selectively pick their laws. And that's what Bass said, right? It would have just been peaceful if you didn't arrest criminals. And what kind of weird world does that exist? But in the Democrats' mind, that's exactly what they're saying. And now that Trump is doing what you voted for, and what's really funny about all of this is that Trump is so popular now that the Democrats, their lies and their hoaxes aren't working one bit. Now, you have even CNN fake news. They ran a poll of their own fake news audience. And when we talk about polls, we always say to take them with a grain of salt, because these polls, they do a very small group, and they're usually very heavy on the left of Democrats. But even with their fake polls and fake CNN, even there said 56% wanted 100% of illegal immigrants to be deported. Fake news CNN. And the shocked looks and the surprise in their face, like, how can this possibly be? I mean, how can our side, the Democrat side, agree with them? Well, this is exactly how, because this is very popular. And this is why Donald Trump gained across virtually every single demographic is over illegal immigration in this country. This is why he increased with everybody from like South America, right? All the Mexicans and Cubans and everyone that came here legally, they don't want illegal immigration either, for very obvious reasons, because of all the damage it does to our country. But for the Democrats, for their voters, and for their cheap labor, for the Democrats, for their illegal immigrants to go pick their cotton, right? That's what they're fighting for now: cheap illegal labor and new voters in the future that they can get hooked on the federal government taking your tax dollars and then redistributing it to them, their friends. And when you have the nerve to enforce our laws, because if a criminal is criminal, right? I mean, if someone breaks their laws, aren't we supposed to have equal justice? Isn't justice supposed to be blind? I mean, entering this country by itself is a crime. and deportation is the due process. Now, fake news, they can lie and they can call this a humanitarian crisis, but you notice how they never care about the crisis for American people. Now, we have here the Washington Post, for example, they posted this doozy. They said the U.S. could lose more than immigrants than this game for the first time in 50 years. Well, yeah. I mean, that's exactly what they voted for. And then below that, net migration could turn negative. Some economists warn. So right back to fake news, quoting their fake experts, say, how well is that working out for them? How much trust and faith do you have now in these so-called experts? They're weighing in on economic growth and fueling inflation. They don't even care about trying to make sense. Not one bit. Inflation only happens one way. That's when the federal government prints money. They have $5 trillion coming in. They spend $7 trillion. So they have to print that money out of thin air to cover their spending. Now imagine if you could do that endlessly, right? And just print money to the end of time. How long do you think a bank would go for that? But for Congress, they can just print money endlessly, and then that's what causes you to inflation. It's not tariffs, and it's not whatever else they're making up here, somehow trying to link it to immigration. And then you have the New York Post here. Let's see, I hit the wrong button. You have the New York Post here. They go, nearly 1 million illegal immigrants have self-deported under President Trump, which has led to higher wages. Yeah, gee, you think? If you get rid of all the cheap illegal labor, and then all of a sudden you now have American citizens doing the jobs the Democrats lie about and say that you won't do, all of a sudden, boom, right? Wages go up naturally because of capitalism. You're seeing everything that you voted for with Donald Trump and his tariffs, and then on the other side with his deporting illegal immigrants. Now that over 1 million are gone. I mean, this is the best way we can do it by far. You can arrest and you can deport and we can fight these judges, and we will eventually win it. But for us, the best way is if they leave on their own. And however that works, we buy them airline tickets, we pay them to leave the country. However that works, it's worth every single penny to get them to leave on their own. Then there's no judges, right? There's no orders. They just go. It's by far the best. I mean, you see over here a million. How many have been actually arrested and deported right now? Not even a fraction of that. This is why we must go. We must fight these battles. But this was one of the smartest things Trump did. And you hear people from our side when they're saying, well, he shouldn't be paying people for leaving this country. Just arrest them and deport them. But it doesn't always work as easily as you see as this goes. When they cost us in like the Medicaid, and they said they have 1.4 million people allegedly on Medicaid, plus who knows what they're doing with Social Security, and we don't even know where the money was going from the Treasury. Is that $5 trillion gone, and no one knows where this money went? Or you had how much money you have FEMA wasting on housing illegal immigrants, and they couldn't help North Carolina with the hurricanes. And with that, my clock is beeping at me. We'll be right back, including Jamie Raskin, as he also has a meltdown because we are doing everything that Donald Trump promised. We'll be right back after this greedy profit break. This is the CASHLOREN Show.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2025, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all 3 of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Have you wanted to start a podcast but you just don't know where to begin? Podbeam is your all-in-one solution to host your podcast and distribute it all across the internet. With my code on the affiliate link down below, you will gain also 1 month free to try the Podbeam service. This is really your one-stop solution to hosting your podcast. Record it, you put it up to just a single upload, then that upload will distribute to all of the main platforms all across the internet, including Apple and Spotify and many, many others. It will then also automatically share your podcast across all major social media, making your job easier so you can spend more time recording the podcasts that you love and less time managing them on the back end. Podbeam is your all-in-one solution for your podcast needs. Click on the link below, the CASHLOREN, and get your 1 free month today. If you are watching this show, then you are probably sick and tired of the corporate media we call fake news lying to you every single day. You are not alone. This has caused many citizen journalism, as much as I hate to say the J word, that's really what we're doing, is exposing the fake news networks and the corrupt government every day without the filter of the corporate media deciding what you can and cannot know. Many of us make these videos with the extra room that we have in our houses, just like I am here in our spare bedroom. But making these is not free. We have families to feed as well. If you are enjoying this content, then it will always be free, and I thank you for your support. But if you want to help monetarily, there is a great way to do that on Locals. Click on the link below, sign up for our different tiered programs, and we will have additional content for you based on the level that you sign up for, including being thanked in the end of videos every single day. Take a moment, if you enjoy this content, and sign up for the monetary support and help us stay on air and offer you more benefits, such as more shows and better production. So sign up for today at Locals and support the citizen journalisms and help us get past the fake news networks. We have more breaking news now as you go, and one of the things I do during break is I'll go and I'll try to catch up with everything that's happening on the political spectrum, on the national, and anything that's happening with fake news networks. You never know when a story is going to break, as the cycle is now 24/7. And we started out with the show, talked about a little bit how there's just breaking that there was reports that Trump had reconvened his Security Council, and now he was making an emergency back to DC, and that he was telling everybody to get out of Tehran. We have more, very little coming out now, but there was more. There was an Israel report came out, and this allegedly said, I'm reading here, that the U.S. was attacking Iran. And that we now have confirmed from the White House side that we are not attacking Iran. This is Sean Parnell. He says, American forces are maintaining their defensive posture, and that it has not changed. We are protecting American troops and our interests. So the report is completely false as far as what we can tell from now. And so we'll continue to try to keep an eye on that and then go to breaks on that. And if anything else happens throughout the show, as I have it, as you can see me look away from the screen, as I have it up here and here, I'm trying to keep my eye on it just in case something updates. And if it does, we'll do my best, as I'm here all alone tonight and doing everything I can to keep up with all this so that you can stay informed here on the CASHLOREN show. And if you enjoy that, take a moment, repost, and help us spread a conservative message with your audience. We have now Jamie Raskin, as he is also melting down. As we went before break, we were talking about how the left thinks that they get to choose which laws they do and they don't follow. And this arrogance of them, this hubris from the left, that then, on their minds, it's Trump's fault for going into these Democrat cities. Right, and it's Trump's fault for arresting these illegal criminals. It's not the criminals' fault for breaking the law. No, that's not how this works in the Democrats' woke mind virus brains. See, because they are the liberal elite, and they look at everything through identity lens, and they get to decide what is right is what is wrong based off whatever morality they've made up that day. But because they're smarter than you, because they're better than you, because they have Ivy League degrees, that then you should just do what they say. And when you don't, what do they immediately do? Oh, you're a racist, or you're a bigot, or you're a homophobe, or you're a transphobe. You're a white nationalist. You're one of those extreme MAGA Republicans. Because everything to them is just like that. They are so far to the left that anyone else that's even remotely middle is extreme to them. And Jamie Raskins is just one of the kookiest of the kooks. I mean, this guy is, how did people like this get elected? I don't know how somebody can look at this guy and think, this is a really good idea to put him in office. So listen to him have an absolute meltdown, all because Donald Trump is arresting criminals.
He's pivoting to just make it a war against democratic cities. And he's not even talking about immigration so much anymore. He just wants those scenes of violent confrontation between a federalized National Guard or the Marines and people who live in cities that have Democratic mayors or states that have Democratic governors. I mean, that's much more of an agenda to create a political civil war in America. And that's exactly what the vast majority of American people don't want.
A vast majority of American people voted for illegal immigration. Yeah, that was the number 2 issue on the ballot. And even like CNN's fake news polls, when they went and they did their own polls, their own fake news, found that 56% of their own audience wanted 100% of illegal immigrants, whether they committed a crime here or not, deported. Donald Trump won the popular vote. Donald Trump won all 7 swing states. And Donald Trump's popularity is growing, despite everything fake news tries to lie about, or whether they're 100-day hoax polls or anything else that they try to run the hit pieces on. All of that is blatantly false. And now, as we continue to deport all these people. See, that's the way the Democrats think is, we just choose. We've decided that illegal immigrants aren't illegal because we want to turn them into voters. Either now or later, and they don't even really have to vote in our election. See, this is something that the Democrats, they never want you to find out, is how our census works. Our census is just a head count. There's no proof or requirement of citizenship to be counted in the census, just heads. And they try very hard to bury that. But every time a bill comes up to try to link ID and citizenship to the census, every single Democrat votes against it every single time. And now you're seeing the reasons why. There is reports and estimates that the Democrats lose 20-something seats. I mean, imagine that. The Republicans, they only have the House by a few seats. Imagine if the Democrats were to lose another 20. We could actually push through Donald Trump's agenda. We can get rid of rhinos like Mike Johnson, because it wouldn't be so narrow that these neocon rhino Democrats, while they call themselves conservatives, they call themselves Republicans, they're none of those things. They are actually Democrats. We would be able to get past them and we'd be able to beat them. And this is why he's freaking out, because he knows that we're going to deport these illegal immigrants, these criminals that should have never come here in the first place, out of this country. Trump promised every single one, and that's what we're doing, one step at a time. Like Judge Dredd Holman said, we're going to start with the ones that commit crimes here. We're going to start with the most violent. But make no mistake, we're going to deport every single one. And I can hear some of you now. What about Trump when he said about the agricultural and the hotels and all that stuff? People have really misunderstood what Donald Trump said here. They've forgotten what he said all along the campaign trail and just what Tom Homan's doing. You have people who have been here for 20 plus years, right? They've committed no crimes. They contributed to society. That doesn't mean that they don't get deported. That just means that they don't get deported right now. And anything else that says is fluff. Now, this is what they're focusing on now. The Democrats like Jamie Raskins, they're targeting Democrat cities. Well, yeah, you made the Democrat cities sanctuary cities. You invited all these illegal criminals into your cities, and you said that no one was illegal when they were illegal. So what is Trump doing? What did police do right? They don't go to the houses where people are obeying the law. They go to the houses where the people are breaking the law. It's really not that complicated, right? But for the Democrats, this goes right over the head. They just can't grasp these very simple concepts that should be no problem for anybody. And we're not going to allow the summer of love to happen again. As he brings up there the National Guard and how Trump federalized them, which he is allowed to do. And that's why when Gavin Newsom, when he sued Trump and he got that injunction from the judge, went on front of camera, bragged about it, and then less than an hour later was overruled. Because that is simply how it works. Okay, the National Guard is under the state, but if the state refuses to enforce their laws and refuses to protect their citizens, then they can be federalized by the president, and then the president can then send them in. And then when that wasn't enough because all the Democrats were rioting and burning and destroying their cities, he then sent in Marines. And those Democrat activists screwed around and found out. You don't mess with the Marines. Even ICE acting director Todd Lannis, he's called how the Democrats reacted absolutely appalling. And he is, of course, 100% right on this again. I mean, you will never hate these fake news, these Democrats enough. We can just spend all day, every day, talking about how they just lie and they change meanings of words over and over and over again to you, the American people, and they think that they can still get away with it. Right? As Jamie Raskin says, oh, we're a victim. You know, he's targeting us because we're Democrats and he's a Republican. I swear they get their ideas from what they've done. He completely ignores how they went after Donald Trump when he left office. Or how he went out, the Democrats went after praying grandmas at abortion clinics. Or overcharging January 6th prisoners. They knew those charges wouldn't stick, but they threw them in prison. They ruined their lives anyways. And then when the Supreme Court overruled it, the DOJ, they started trying to mess around again to keep all these innocent people in prison. And it took Donald Trump coming back and having to pardon these people to get them back out, because they never should have been in the first place. And I'm not talking about people who assault police officers, because unlike the Democrat side, we don't just pretend to care about the cops when the other side attacks them. Okay, anybody that attacks a police officer should go to prison. But that doesn't mean that they spend the rest of their lives in prison necessarily, depending just like on any assault. And I think it should be worse for police officers. But there's some differences in what you do. Especially with some of them when they're saying assault police officers, and what you saw is they were in the crowd and they're getting pushed and they can't do anything. So this is why we need what we need here. We need Donald Trump to come back. We need to make our laws equal again. Well, let's listen one more time. We're going to have Jamie Raskin as he tries to play the victim, and listen to this again as he goes through and he completely ignores all the facts and the details of what is happening. Instead, what the Democrats always do is they only tell you the parts they want you to know, and then they pretend they're victims. So here is Jamie Raskins again.
He's pivoting to just make it a war against democratic cities. And he's not even talking about immigration so much anymore. He just wants those scenes of violent confrontation between a federalized National Guard or the Marines and people who live in cities that have Democratic mayors or states that have Democratic governors. I mean, that's much more of an agenda to create a political civil war in America. And that's exactly what the vast majority of American people don't want.
I don't know where he's getting the vast majority of people don't want. Maybe you should go back and look at the 2024 election and how Donald Trump won. The popular vote, all 7 swing states, close to 80 million votes, running on deporting every single illegal immigrant. And why the Democrats, why people like Jamie Raskins keeps running this garbage, and then they don't realize why they're down to 19% approval rating. And why Donald Trump is well over 50%. Because everybody wants this. This is why Donald Trump, it was on illegal immigration, ironically enough, as the Democrats were hoping that they could run on abortion again. or the woman's right to choose, but to abort as many babies as they want, as the Democrats among other criminals, the most satanic is being drunk on the blood of the innocent. That's a story for another day, as we're on legal immigration, and now the No King protests. We had one of my friends on X, this is Hunter Engelman, he posted this earlier today, and if you're on X, you're not following him, I strongly recommend that you do. He has a great content. He's one of my favorite accounts to follow. And he posted this doing a meme to Parks and Rec. And the first line, do you have any history of mental illness in your family? And Mr. Eyebrows here, I have cousins who celebrate No King's Day on June 14th, the Democrats rioting, and not on July 4th, when we celebrate actually being free from a king, right? Facts. This is when these facts get in the way of these Democrats. But here on the CASHLOREN show, we will always speak the truth and we will always expose the Democrats' their lies and their hoaxes. We will make them cry liberal tears that are saltier than you-know-who's fries. And many are asking, all these riots organic? We know who's funding this stuff. And this has caused even Donald Trump to open up an investigation with the FBI and DOJ. Did you see this? I saw there's some accounts like on X that are posting that they're starting to try to track down the money. It's very suspicious, isn't it? All of a sudden, these rioters, they have these brand new hammers to break up concrete, to throw at ICE agents, or all of a sudden they have these brand new $60 masks, right? Mass purchases, they're all the same. Or all of a sudden these giant pallets of bricks show up. That sure is suspicious. I mean, somebody has to be funding this stuff, right? It just has to be. And for the Democrats, as they go through and they try to separate the country from the right from the left, as they try to do it down lines of based on the color of your skin, because to the Democrats, everything is identity politics. And they can't understand if somebody they think that should be on their side, no matter what they do, is not. Just like this woman here. The Democrats can't understand. I mean, you're a black lady. Why would you wear all that American gear? I mean, you're a black woman. You're supposed to hate this country. All right, you're supposed to be on welfare. You're supposed to be dependent on the federal government. Or you're not supposed to love this country. You're not supposed to show patriotism. You're not supposed to fly an American flag. If you want to fly a Palestinian flag or a Mexican flag, well, that's okay because you hate this country. But you're a black woman. How dare you love this country? That's given more people opportunity than any other nation has in the history of the world. I am well over on a break again as my clock is beeping at me. So we'll be right back after this greedy profit break. This is the CASHLOREN Show.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2025, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all 3 of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Folks, have you wanted to start a podcast but you just don't know where to begin? Podbeam is your all-in-one solution to host your podcast and distribute it all across the internet. With my code on the affiliate link down below, you will gain also 1 month free to try the Podbeam service. This is really your one-stop solution to hosting your podcast. Record it, you put it up to just a single upload, then that upload will distribute to all of the main platforms all across the internet, including Apple and Spotify and many, many others. It will then also automatically share your podcast across all major social media, making your job easier so you can spend more time recording the podcasts that you love and less time managing them on the back end. Podbeam is your all-in-one solution for your podcast needs. Click on the link below, the CASHLOREN, and get your 1 free month today. If you are watching this show, then you are probably sick and tired of the corporate media we call fake news lying to you every single day. You are not alone. This has caused many citizen journalism, as much as I hate to say the J word, that's really what we're doing, is exposing the fake news networks and the corrupt government every day without the filter of the corporate media deciding what you can and cannot know. Many of us make these videos with the extra room that we have in our houses, just like I am here in our spare bedroom. But making these is not free. We have families to feed as well. If you are enjoying this content, then it will always be free, and I thank you for your support. But if you want to help monetarily, there is a great way to do that on Locals. Click on the link below, sign up for our different tiered programs, and we will have additional content for you based on the level that you sign up for, including being thanked in the end of videos every single day. Take a moment, if you enjoy this content, and sign up for the monetary support and help us stay on air and offer you more benefits, such as more shows and better production. So sign up for today at Locals and support the citizen journalisms and help us get past the fake news networks. Well, we have a little bit more breaking here as we went on commercial and was checking back on the Iran situation. As we reported earlier before break, that the United States was not involved so far, even though there was an earlier report that they said they would do so. So I kind of look away from my camera as I'm going up to this new report here. As this is being reported now, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth responds to the escalation with Iran, says the United States is going to a defensive position. But we are posturing defensively in the region in strongly pursuit of peace deal. We are not involved in what's going on with Israel and Iran, despite the earlier reports. And why Donald Trump is rushing back for the obvious reasons what's happening with Israel and with Iran right now. We are not directly involved, and Donald Trump still believes that he can reach a peace deal that does not include nuclear weapons. We want to spend a quick minute on this because this is something that doesn't get covered enough. As Donald Trump was, when he came in and he said that he wanted peace through strength, just like the Reagan push from all those decades ago, and that he promised to do things like end the Russian and the Ukraine war and then calm down the Middle East. And thanks to people like fake news, how many didn't realize how close we were to World War III? Trump wins in November, but doesn't take power until January 20th. And during that entire time, the uniparty deep state did everything in their power to push us closer and closer to war. Now we're left to clean up the mess and the pieces. I mean, both Obama and Biden gave Iran billions and billions of dollars. When Trump had him broke after his first administration, and then Biden gave him billions of dollars again for humanitarian aid. But of course, just like everything else of the federal government, none of that money is actually tracked, right? It goes out to Hezbollah, goes out to the Palestinians, boom, Israel gets hit. We all know how this works. And now, whether you believe the reports on how close they are to a nuclear weapon or not, either way, this situation is very dangerous. And it takes someone like the strength of Donald Trump. Like, could you imagine if Kamala Harris was the president right now? Just what an absolutely mess this would be. It would be just almost unthinkable. And now we have the fake news and their friends in the Democrat Party. Is you have MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post, Political Axios. Every single one of them are in the bag for the Democrats. They are all Team DNC. And they all love to push the same talking points for the Democrat Party. And as we played earlier with Jamie Raskin, how he was so mad and so angry that Trump was sending in the National Guard and the Marines, but more so that he was arresting illegal criminals that the Democrats didn't want arrested. And now you had people like Hakeem Jeffries calling out, and he wants ICE agents doxxed. But of course, the Democrats, they can't say that, is they do what they always do, is when they want something, they can't tell you what they want, because if they actually told you that, none of you would go along with it. They're already at 19% now with their lying. Imagine how low they'd be if they're actually honest with the rest of the audience, with you, the American voters. So then they have to go and they have to lie to you about their objectives. So now what they're trying to do is they're trying to go after ICE agents and after their families. And this caused ICE agents to then start wearing masks to protect themselves and to protect their families. I mean, this makes sense, right? So now the Democrats are angry and they're bitter, they're vicious, because they want to try to use activism and liberalism to threaten these people. That don't you even do it. Don't you even sign up to arrest these illegal immigrants or deport them. Because if you do, we will destroy your life. And we will destroy your family's lives. See, this is about the deep state flexing its muscle. Thinking that the deep state, that they run the United States of America, not who you elected, the president, the Senate, or the House. No, it's these unelected bureaucrats that you've never heard of. They think that they have the right to rule over you. And they never thought that Donald Trump would come back. They really thought install Joe Biden, bring in tens of millions of illegal immigrants, naturalize them, and then now you have a permanent uniparty deep state. Now, of course, it's still going to be Republicans in name, but they will never have enough power to actually control the federal government. They would just be there to do what they've done for the last 30 years, right? Cower and give the Democrats everything they wanted. Until an actual conservative came through, or well, Donald Trump's really a populist, but someone with this conservative ideology actually came back in office. So now the Democrats, they want to go after the people and they want to dox them. So here is the fake news having an absolute meltdown because the ICE agents are protecting their identity, making it harder for people like fake news and Democrats to threaten them and threaten their families.
What are you doing?
So it's especially upsetting given that there are actual ICE agents who are showing up masked, won't show their they won't show their faces, they won't show identification, they won't show a warrant, and they're just snatching people off the streets. And one thing that I have been hearing from people who are bystanders or sometimes trying to intervene is, how do we know these guys didn't just buy an ICE vest off of
you don't know if
eBay
like
or Amazon or what?
So they're so arrogant here. The Democrats are, where do you even start to break down this level of TDS? So just some random citizen gets to decide if someone's a police officer or not, and then they get to decide if they're going to stop them from arresting a criminal. We usually clip after clip where they're wearing full vests. So she tries to play two sides of the fence right here. One, she says they're not wearing any uniforms. And then on the other side, she tries to combine it. Well, yeah, they might be wearing uniforms, but how do we know those are real uniforms? Okay, and then let's say their face is or is not covered. How does that change anything in this scenario? It doesn't, right? The only thing it changes is that the Democrats, they can't dox and they can't threaten federal police officers for enforcing our laws and deporting illegal immigrants.
Is out there doing this.
And like, we don't know if these are the Proud Boys or actual law enforcement agents because they won't show us any documentation. And you're saying you interviewed a guy who this is his shtick.
And of course, where they have to go to come to all these conclusions. Well, I talked to a guy. That's a long ways from experts say. I mean, I'm sure they can find maybe an expert or I don't know, maybe a scientist. Maybe there's somebody out there that can tell them who is and who's not a police officer. Of course, they know they're police officers. This is what's so lying about the left side is that they're never honest about their intentions. Their intentions are they want to keep as many illegal immigrants here as possible if they brought in this country illegally because they see them as future voters. Either future now for legalizing them or future later when they legalize them later and to say the Democrats get back power, or their children and then use the birthright citizenship to make their children that are illegal now legal. And this is what it always is about votes. But they can't tell you that because they know that none of you would actually go through with that. And so now, as they have to go and they have to lie about everything that they're talking about here, is that they then sit there and say, well, we don't know if they're police officers. I mean, yeah, they're wearing a uniform, but how do we know that's a real uniform? I mean, how do you know if a police officer pulls you over? How do you know that's a real police officer? Or how do you know he didn't just go buy or she go buy lights off the internet? How do you know that uniform's real? And if you don't know, do you have the right now to obstruct that police officer? Right now, somehow citizens get to deputize themselves and interfere with law enforcement arresting criminals. See how absurd the woke mind virus is? Even when they try to spin it through all this insane woke crap, it still only takes 2 seconds to put together. I mean, just using the right side of my brain just to make it fair. But now you have the California, the Democrats, after we're going through and arresting illegal immigrants, and they won't tell you that these actually are illegals. These are criminals that are being arrested, whether most times citizens or not, that they are murderers, they are assault, rapists that are being arrested. And if you are illegal, you then get deported. Well, the Democrats, they want to have these people so bad in this country that they want to dox police officers who enforce the law. So now California is trying to make laws in California over the federal government. Let's see how that bold strategy works out for California.
Elaborate, people covering their faces, impersonating police officers. It erodes trust in law enforcement and it undermines community safety. That's really what this bill is about. And I think many law enforcement officials, legitimate law enforcement officials, would welcome, putting in safeguards to ensure transparency and accountability. And I think the concern is a lot that's happening. There are a lot of people who are engaged in these enforcement actions, and we don't know, are they federal? Are they contractors? Are they local law enforcement? And so we're requiring that people not have to wear masks except.
Who does he think he is? And to say that people have to not wear masks, just what exactly does he think he has the right to do? Again, they're trying to mix all this stuff together, but at the end of the day, they're lying about every single bit of it. What they want to do is they want to dox anybody that arrests an illegal criminal alien to try to keep as many illegal criminals here as the Democrats want. As the Democrats, they hate our country. They truly despise you, the American citizens, the American voters. They think that America is just bad and it's evil and it needs to be brought down to its knees. It needs to be burned to the ground so they can rebuild it in the Democrats' communist utopia. They do not doubt me for a single second. This is importing votes so they can have permanent power. They know just as well as you do that these are illegal criminals that are being deported. And they can't say that to you because if they do, then none of you would go along with what they're trying to say. So then they come up with these ridiculous BS lies. Yeah, and I agree. I think people are getting it 100% because thanks to Elon buying X and thanks to Rumble and thanks to independent creators that we can now get enough out that enough people realize that fake news and Democrats are lying to them, as this guy continues to do.
For some very limited exceptions, and that there be identifying information ensures that we know who is involved here. It's also critical to uphold our state and local laws, including our sanctuary law, SB 54, which says.
What are you doing?
It's important. It's important to uphold our laws. That our laws say that we don't arrest and we don't deport illegal criminals. I mean, that's what he's talking about here. He's saying that, California has decided that if you come here illegally, we won't enforce laws that say you get deported. So they somehow think they're going to make a state law that overrules federal laws because they are the illiberal elite. They get to choose which laws they do and they don't follow. Absolutely nonsense. They know it. But of course, what do? And they always do, they lie. And then when they can't lie and they can't get away with this crap, the very last leg that they try to go to is the judicial coups. As there was another one that broke this morning. So this was over a federal judge in Massachusetts is now reinstating the several NIH grants that were cut by President Trump under his anti-DEI and anti-gender ideology policies. In other words, this judge is trying to say that the federal government has to push and force this woke, DEI, racist-based policies on the American people. You voted to stop this. But these unelected judges, they think that they are part of the deep state, and so therefore they get to rule over you. Not that, how many judges did you vote for? Right? How many of you voted for this judge or any of these activist judges that all of a sudden they think that they get to usurp power from Trump's administration? Right? Absolutely zero of you voted for these. Yet 77 million of you voted for Donald Trump. And he, as your president, as the only federal officer in the entire federal government that the entire United States votes for, very open, very transparently, on his position on illegal immigration and actually following our laws, unlike the Democrats who think that because they're the elites, they get to pick and choose which laws they're going to follow based on whatever fake morality they're running that day. Now, these activists, these Democrat activists that are cosplaying as judges, think that they get to sign a piece of paper and just usurp all of Donald Trump's authority. I mean, where is SCOTUS? I mean, where is Congress? They all know this is wrong. They all know these judges don't have the power. I mean, they all have the Constitution. They all know it. That's behind me here. Okay, Donald Trump has exclusive Article 2 powers. No judge has a right to overrule them. Okay, that is what separation of powers actually means. It's not what the Democrats trying to tell you. Well, the judges are the ultimate check and balance on the other two. So it's not the judges up here that can just rule on anything, and that the president and the Congress has to obey the judges. Yeah, that's exactly what the Democrats and the fake news networks are trying to tell you now, because these judges are pushing Democrat progressive ideology. And so all of a sudden, we have a constitutional crisis and there's a threat to our democracy, when it's really none of that is true. What is really true is the Democrats are the threat to democracy because they see a threat to their permanent rule, their bureaucracy. These unelected judges that don't have the authority, that know they don't have the authority, and are making these rulings anyways, they are the constitutional threat because they have no right to tell Donald Trump what he can do with his Article 2 powers, any more than they have any right to tell Congress what laws they can pass. That's the separation of power. But to the left, they've seen everything down party lines. So we're going to play this clip here really quick. We have Brandon Johnson. He too decided one day that he's just going to decide that they're going to pay people based on the color of skin. So if you're black, then he thinks he's morally right, that it's equitable to take tax dollars away from other people and then redistribute it to them.
Remembering our past and working towards a more just future investing in black is not a criminal act.
So I want to get to this comment here really quick because I'm going to go over a minute or two. But so that's Brandon Johnson, and he's stating essentially that he's going to try to redistribute wealth based on the color of someone's skin and reparations. Let's see how that plays out for him. But we have this from on Kick, which has just been added to StreamYard. So this is a brand new place where you can watch the CASHLOREN show. And this retard goes on: judicial branch judges the law, both constitutionally and federally. Again, no, they do not. The judges don't get to sit up here and decide what is constitutional and what is not. The judges feel something is unconstitutional, they judge on it. Again, no. See, this is where the Democrats and the woke mind virus has absolutely lied to people. The judges don't get to just make feelings and then decide rulings based on how they feel. That's the woke mind virus talking. It's not the judges up here. And one of the really simple ways to put this forward to anybody is the reason why the Democrats and these kind of retards, they won't answer these questions. It's because you ask them, let's say Donald Trump orders troops to move. Can a judge then intersect and stop the troop movement? Of course, the obvious answer is no. Donald Trump is the commander-in-chief. But they will never admit it. They always go away from that because they know as soon as they admit that, they admit that there's separation of powers and their entire house of cards comes crumbling down all at the same time. With that, we are way over on time, so we'll be back again tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we will see you then. This is the CASHLOREN Show. Oh, whoops, and let's see.